Good afternoon, I'm Karen Kozia Philip. C News is live at noon.
And I'm Nasira Mohammed with sport.
To the top of our newscast, the 74-year-old Guaracara grandmother is the country's latest murder victim after she was bludgeoned to death at her home during a robbery. Zorida Inath Ali, a grandmother of 6 and mother of 4, was discovered dead with a bloody brick on her chest, clutching her cell phone. Ali's grandson Mark Babulal said that his grandmother's home was ransacked and there was an attempt to burn it. Inath Ali ran a plant shop out of her home at Sitaram Farnham village. And an investigation is underway after robbers broke into the home of Dr. Botuwari, taking his Honda car and a number of articles. According to police sources, the incident happened on Thursday morning at the opposition MP's Chinchin Road home around 4:30. Dr. Tuwari said he'd gone to bed around 9:30 p.m. but awoke 7 hours later to find his front door open. Upon checking, he realized bandits had taken his vehicle, a cellular phone, watch, $900 in cash, a laptop, an iPad, and parliamentary documents. UNC Senator Wayne Sturge has responded to discrepancies pointed out by the media relating to the opposition's tally of the murder toll. In a Facebook post, the lawyer said he rushed out of court to attend the news conference Thursday and had no time to check the document, which at that point had already been provided to the media. Mr. Sturge said he had relied on an assurance that it was verified. And just to give you some background to this story, our reporter Mahalia Joseph and cameraman Nigel Alexander spotted the disparity in the numbers presented at the press conference held by UNC Senators Sturge and Gerald Ramdeen.
The names will be repeated if one page is photocopied twice. Is there an instance where it has been
26?
Yeah.
But, of course, after my cameraman's observation, I myself had to go through this list, and I did notice that names were repeated on this list, at least on 3 of the pages, as you see here, from number 352, Frida Goodridge, Joshua Williams, Michael Ali, Adam Boney, Carlton Huggins, Keston Henry, Vijay Ramuta, and this is from 352 to 358 of page 25. And when we turn to page 29, we see here that those names are repeated, but from a different number. That's 377 straight down to 383. And when I did my own check on how many names were repeated, it came up to 25. And when we minused 25 from that 438 figure that they gave us originally, we came up with 413. So it's still unclear whether their statistics were correct.
Mr. Sturge also responded, saying even after the 25 duplicated names are removed, it's still clear that both the media and police have been underreporting murders. He also lashed out at the media, saying they chose to blow up a discrepancy and make it the main story, as opposed to dealing with what Senator Ramdeen revealed, that is documentary evidence of millions of dollars of PNM nepotism and cronyism. C News Live contacted TTPS's Ellen Lewis, who confirmed the official police murder toll is 407. She also said their website will be reviewed. And speaking to Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago today, the former National Security Minister Gary Griffith weighed in on the issue, saying the right murder toll number should be that taken from the TTPS.
Until they confirm that criminal offense was based on a murder taking place, that is the number we have to take from the police service and from no political party.
Mr. Griffith also responded to the suspension of 150 police officers from duty for a range of offenses ranging from larceny to murder, saying a few bad apples shouldn't tarnish the overall image of the service.
This is not something to show that the systems that are in place for disciplinary measures, it's working. As most of these persons suspended, they go on full pay. I even recall being told that an officer was actually given tip-offs to criminals, and she was suspended. But they get full pay, and if no evidence pending to the charge, they then return with the same seniority, and they were not working for years on full pay. So indirectly, it pays to be a rogue officer once you're not found guilty of a crime.
The former National Security Minister also said part of the problem with the image of and confidence in the police service relates to leadership at the very top.
We need a commissioner of police who is prepared to make tough decisions, who is prepared to stand alone if he has to, and which may not be the popular thing to do, but doing it as if going to be the best avenue to weed out the rogue elements, which would set a precedent for others and rebuild public confidence.
You're watching the CNews Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at CNews Live. The Cane Producers Association has slammed the opposition leader over her comments on cash payments to farmers. In a press release, the body also knocked Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar for her comments, which attempted to blame the non-payment of the EU grant to cane farmers on the present Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley. The farmers said Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar failed to adequately address the long-standing issue of utilization of the EU grant funding for the benefit of cane farmers during her 5 years as Prime Minister. It continued that her statements were an attempt to divert attention away from her time in government, where hundreds of millions of dollars were collected from the EU and no mechanism was put in place for the cane farmers to benefit. Now let's look at news coming out from the ongoing local government campaign. And we start with the PNM, where the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, says the real reason the People's Partnership government never used the building at No. 1 Alexandra Place was because they were more concerned with making sure that their friends and family were awarded the contract for the retrofitting of the building.
Nicholas Towers and elsewhere had experience doing that, bid, I think it was about 25 million. Another company bid something like about 50 million. And a minister of the last government decided that the contract must be awarded to the company that bid the 50 million.
Speaking at a public meeting in Siparia last night, the Prime Minister said the company to whom the minister at the time wanted to award the contract was Palo Seco Agricultural Enterprises.
A name is agricultural enterprise is mixed up in something like that because it was a vehicle to award contracts. Because all they were about in the UNC and all they are about is opportunity to award contracts.
Now, according to the Prime Minister, the building was eventually prepared for use by the Ministry of Public Administration and Communications at a cost of $44 million after sitting empty and unused for 5 years. And on the other hand, the opposition leader, Kamla Prasad-Bissessar, is alleging that after the local government election and the Christmas season, there are plans by the government to devalue the TT dollar.
$1 for 10 TT dollars. Already the 10 to 1 is murder, I agree. 10 to 1, that is a story coming out from those in the know. So do not get carried away and fooled with their rhetoric and their platform talk this election. Take your time. They have stopped everything on review and audit. They're reviewing every project and so on. The time for us now is to review and audit the Rowley government.
He made the claims while addressing supporters at Rio Claro last evening. The UNC political leader said the present administration is not concerned about citizens, as she said they have dismantled the social safety net.
You are suffering, but there's no end in sight because a prime minister wants to stand on a platform and talk about some Wassa line that I had nothing to do with and talk about everything under the sun except how he's going to create jobs for you, how he's going to build back the social safety net, and above all, how he's going to deal with crime.
And at that UNC, the Member of Parliament for Oropouche East, Dr. Rudal Munilal, said the country is at a critical juncture as it relates to politics. He said citizens now have a second chance to make a decision for the country. Dr. Munilal claimed the UNC left the country in a good state before the PNM took up office last year.
This may well be the last election in Trinidad before the next general election in Trinidad and Tobago. The time is upon us. The moment is here for you in Rio Claro, Mayaro, and the rest of Trinidad to send an overwhelming message to Keith Rowley and the PNM that enough is enough. Today, this country is unrecognizable from the paradise we left.
He said the PNM political leader, Dr. Keith Rowley, was more concerned with other matters.
He concerned with outside children. He concerned with roti. That is the Prime Minister of this country, and he is lying with the figures that he brings. Brothers and sisters, he is not concerned with the issues facing this country. Yesterday, talking in some meeting somewhere, he said, well, when we were in government, somebody take concrete and mix it by the pipe, and water couldn't run to the pool. That fella is now a plumber.
Well, the Prime Minister says he will provide proof of the $300,000 roti bill he claims the office of the Prime Minister spent for a Diwali function under the People's Partnership government. He did so in response to a challenge from Princestown Member of Parliament Barry Padarat.
But since it's so fast and out of place, I will bring the bills for the $1.6 million for the function. So you all could see with your own eyes. You could see with your own eyes how your money being spent.
An investigation has begun into an overnight fire that gutted a garment factory in El Dorado. Now, according to reports, the blaze engulfed the building on Harinath Street around midnight. Fire tenders were quickly on the scene and are said to have fought the fire for almost 3 hours. So far, there has been no estimate of the extent of the damage to the factory, nor the number of people who've been put out of a job today. Chaguanas as a city is one of the hopes of the Mayor Gopal Budan, who says the Prime Minister's statements that he wants to change the borough status is very much welcomed by burgesses and residents.
We will like to see something happen that the government will stick to their word and give Chaguanas that city status. When they had the opportunity at the borough of Chaguanas, when we bring resolution of the council to make change Chaguanas the status from borough to city, it was voted against. Members of the PNM and members of the LP voted against that motion to move Chaguanas from borough to city. So I am hoping that they are back on track to make sure that Chaguanas becomes a city.
Mayor Budan also explained how and what the changes would be in moving from borough to city status.
The city status things which we under the old English system, and there were all archaic criteria that you have to have a cathedral and you have to have like big buildings also. But we have fulfilled several times over all the criteria to make Chaguanas that city. In terms of the population, when you look at it worldwide, you will see there are certain criteria that the population would also have one of those guiding factors.
To other news now, the debate into the Gaming and Betting Control Bill is set to begin today in the House of Representatives. But the TT Members Association is warning that in its current form, the proposed legislation, if passed, will result in widespread job losses. The association is pointing to specific areas in the bill dealing with licenses and penalties that they say would restrict and strangle growth in the booming industry. The gaming body wants a joint select committee to examine the proposed law, especially since they claim there are fundamental flaws in the provisions. Finance Minister Com Imbert has said regulation of the billion-dollar gaming industry could generate some $500 million in revenue annually. Families of the 5 Muslim men detained but released in Venezuela will hold a protest at the parliament later this afternoon as they continue their call for the immediate repatriation of the men to Trinidad. Led by Imam Umar Abdullah, the group plan to stage their action around 3 p.m. and are asking for a meeting with the Foreign Affairs Minister Dennis Moses. The Venezuela 5 were officially released by a Caracas court 4 weeks ago, but have not been returned to Trinidad despite interventions by both Imam Abdullah and their legal representative, Nafisa Mohammed. The channel IETV says it's not closing down despite the retrenchment of 10 employees this week. Sources at the station told CNews the TV station chose to downsize its operations after businessman Louis Leasing decided to back out of a deal to purchase the station from Caribbean Lifestyle Communications Limited. Among those laid off are three reporters, the head of news, 3 editors and 3 camera operators, whose last day of work is December 19th. IETV's newsroom will be left with 1 reporter, 1 cameraman, and 1 editor to produce stories for the daily 6:30 p.m. newscast. The Public Services Association could have a new president. That's the indication being given by Watson Duke, who says if he becomes Chief Secretary of the THA, the reins of power in the PSA will pass to someone he's been grooming. Mr. Duke made the remarks at a press conference at the union's Tobago office, but refused to name his understudy. You're watching the CNews Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at CNews Live. Nasira Mohammed is back to tell us what's up next in sports.
Well, Taryn, Kevin Molyneux just can't seem to catch a break as he is not chosen as comeback player of the year in the MLS. No need for panic, but definitely a need for concern after Trinidad and Tobago lost both opening matches of the World Cup qualifying hex. There have been some calls from people who for coach Stephen Hart's resignation, but Colin Murray begs to differ.
What he has to do is now think back his strategy, see where he went wrong in the first 2 games, and he did make some mistakes, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. United States have lost 2 games out of 2, and I don't know, I don't see they're panicking as yet. So he just has to look at his strategy, rethink his strategy, and then let's move forward from there.
And that's how we end our sports for today.
And that brings us to the end of our news at noon. I'm Karen Kozia-Phillip.
And I'm Nasira Mohammed.
Now, before we go this morning, we had a very special guest on GMTT who literally entertained us with his infectious and catchy Christmas vibe, which apparently caught everyone's fancy. Let's leave you with the magnificent Myron B. and the backing impromptu band of GMTT. Enjoy.
Why? When we party and work we on, looking alone, I see in the cleaner inside the back there, winding up on a broom, lad. Party in the back, we can leave the control, and the rest of fellas look at how they laughing, all the